into the future.
Hey Eagles, welcome back to Landstown Listens, the podcast by students for students. We're here today to keep you connected with everything happening around Landstown High School, from upcoming events and school news to student spotlights, sports updates, teacher interviews, and more. Join us as we dive into the latest buzz, share stories from our peers, and celebrate what makes our school special.
My name is Brady. The topic of today is the cell phone policy being passed actually next month. We're going to go in about how we feel about it and how we think we should go about this policy being passed. Our first guest is Mr. Guillen. Would you like to introduce yourself, Mr. Guillen?
Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Guillen, the administrative assistant here at Landstown High School.
So, how is your role in Moana 2?
I'm still waiting on the royalty checks to come in, but yeah, I definitely need that check to come in.
Have you watched it yet?
I have not. I have 3 young daughters, and I think we're going to go over winter break to try to watch it.
That sounds exciting. Anyways, do you think having no phones is better?
I think overall it would be. It's one of those things where when I first started teaching in 2010, cell phones were kind of starting to come out, especially for you guys, right? Actually didn't get a cell phone until I was a sophomore in college. So to see the progression from 2001, 2002 to 2010, cell phones they went from some people had them to everyone had them. And even from that point, they were a distraction in the classroom. It was just a lot of, hey, I'm looking in my lap and I have no phone, to the point where now you have a supercomputer in your pocket where you can look up any information you want, do things that you're not supposed to be doing in school. There's social media on there, things like that. So they've become, as with any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. And in some cases, it takes things to the next level in a bad way.
On like a rough estimate, how many times do you have to deal with someone getting sent to the office for using a phone?
I know right now, currently, with the referrals that I have sitting on my desktop, 4 out of 7 right now, but it kind of depends on the week and the teacher, how many we're going to get. Earlier in the year, there was a lot more cell phone referrals. Just as the beginning of the year starts, students have to get used to not having their cell phones out, so you kind of start the year heavy, and then it lightens up for a little bit, and then after breaks, and then this time where it's like, we went from one break to the next break. You see that they become a problem again because everyone's been at home for a little bit.
Yeah, I really want to use my phone too. What do the students and parents think about the bill being passed?
A lot of them are for it. A lot of the parents, I should say, are definitely for it. Some of the students are like, oh, what do you mean we can't have our phones? I had a student be like, come on, Mr. Guillen, you can't tell me you never text nobody in class. I was like, actually, I can tell you I never text nobody in class because, like I told you earlier, I didn't get a cell phone until I was a sophomore in college. And to text, you'd have to literally press the button 3 times just to get an S.
I mean, I've heard about like some students saying their parents was like, no, don't let them take your phone. It's your property. They can't do that. Have any thoughts about that?
The parents have been doing that with their students since the beginning, really. I remember the cell phone policy back in the day was something like, okay, the first time, okay, I'm going to confiscate it. The second time, I confiscate it, give it to the office. The third time, it'd be like, I confiscate it, give it to the office, and then the parent has to come pick it up. So it's always been that issue where it's the parents like, no, that's our cell phone. And cell phones have gotten nothing but more expensive. So even teachers are like, I don't want to take the cell phone, physically take the cell phone. But it's one of those things where we don't have to take it from you. We just need you to not be able to access it. At one point, the policy was off and away, and we saw how that students didn't put it off and away. They just had it on them or look for loopholes into the system. We've looked into getting pouches to kind of close up the cell phone so that students have no access to them. We put them in the pouches, and they're magnetically locked, and you would have to get the magnet to get the phone back out.
It's a sad generation these days, honestly. How badly students are just on their phones all the time, and having to do this is just sad.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about the cell phone policy?
Me personally, I don't really like it that much because sometimes I'm on my phone and it's not like to text friends. It's mainly for my parents because stuff has happened between them, which I'm not gonna get into, and I'll be dealing with it in school, and it's not really the appropriate time, but I'll be forced to put my phone away.
Right, but you can see how that could be very distracting because then it takes you're focused on what you're doing here, and then this little thing, it gets our body going, and we're like, oh man, what is going on that phone? I need to know. Be like, and then you're no longer, even if you were to be like, oh no, it's cool, it's underneath the table, but now your body's still stuck in that moment, and you have to get back into the cycle of, oh, I need to focus, I need to learn, I need to work on my stuff. I mean, we've all been there, and we've all sat there and scrolled and scrolled.
It's dopamine addiction.
Right, exactly. And it's one of those things where I very much dislike the bubbles. So it's like, but at the same time, I can't turn off all notifications because then what happens is then I won't know if something comes in. So it's like, but I do not like the bubbles. So I try to get rid of them. So, and I don't, I've never been a person that really liked phones. I don't need the most updated phone. My best time of life was when I had a phone that could make phone calls and an iPod for my music. I actually missed those days.
I wish we could just listen to music during class sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, as much as that seems like it's a good thing, that it's its own distraction, right?
Yeah.
Like I have a 9-year-old who's kind of, oh, I want to listen to the music while I'm doing my work. I was like, yeah, but you're not doing your work. You're reading the lyrics, you're trying to sing it, and you're just not focused. That's why, those studies you see, and you'll see them in class all the time, right? It's like, oh, what kind of music would you do better at when you're studying? It's always the music with no words.
Yeah. Anyways, is it a general positive or a negative response, or is it more of a mixed reception?
I would say it's one where it's generally positive, but wanting everyone to kind of be on the same page, right? Because you know as well as I do, depending on who the teacher is and what class it is and who the student is how much of pushback you're getting, right? It's like, hey, put your phone away. All right, fine. If your teacher asks you to put your phone away, you're more than likely going to put it away. Some other students will be like, no, I'm not doing it. I just want to play on my phone.
I've seen that in class sometimes in like regardants. Last year I was in an English class. I had this one rebellious student. Every time they're told to put it away, they were just sent to the office because they didn't want to do it.
Right.
What are your concerns about the new cell phone policy regarding safety-wise?
See, I don't look at it that way, safety-wise, because it's like you can have it on you, and your location can be found, right? Like your parents will be able to know where you are. It's one of those things where they're not telling you not to bring it to the building, and the world is totally different than it was, when I grew up, and it's one of those things where I think having it nearby is good enough. Because sometimes what they tell you is misinformation spreads faster than information does. So if everyone has their cell phone and then for safety, then a rumor starts spreading, that's going to spread way quicker than any true information. So then the information gets murky, and then it becomes more of a safety concern because everybody might be trying to come down to here, right? So you can make a hoax up, and parents would be on their way to come to get their child, all because someone sending text messages and sending misinformation around.
Yeah, like that. What happened at PA, right? About the threat.
Yeah.
The misinformation was spread, and then everything bad just went down from there.
We then create the spiral of all the bad effects.
How will it affect teachers in the classroom?
I think teachers will end up having students that are more engaged, more willing to learn, more open to conversations because they don't have that outlet to kind of shut themselves down. Because I feel like with the phone, it becomes something you put yourself in a bubble.
To where you just can't access anyone else, yeah.
Right.
Anyways, To end it off on a positive, how much do you bench per se?
I think if I were to throw something on there right now and be comfortable with it, I could throw 250 on there and probably feel like I could do it no problem. Probably working up to 270 something. I once almost got 315, but it didn't quite get all the way up.
So what I'm hearing is double what I can do. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Gein, for joining us today on Landstown Listeners. Do you have any last remarks or any advice you want to give to our listeners?
I would say keep an open mind about not having a cell phone. You'll realize that if you unplug sometimes, there's so much more world out there to experience. Because this little box in your pocket isn't the freedom, right? It's being outside in the world that is freedom.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Landstown Listens. We hope you enjoyed this episode and feel more connected to what is happening around our school. Remember, this podcast is all about you, the students. So, if you have any store ideas, events to share, or topics you want us to cover, reach out to Miss E. Rogers to let us know. This is Landstown Listens. Until next time.